to whispersfromthehearth.com podcasts, bridging generations through intimate conversations that preserve elder wisdom, awaken ancestral memory, and inspire soulful living in modern times. The book Cities That Watch Over Human Destiny by Mark Stavish explores the concept of egregores, psychic entities influencing groups of people. They explore how egregores are formed by collective human thought and belief, often requiring worship and sacrifice for empowerment. Examples include ideologies like the Democrats and Republican, and cultural icons like JFK and rock stars. Crow 777 Radio had a discussion surrounding this book, delving into the historical implications of egregores, their influence on society, and the importance of understanding their power dynamics. The discussion delved into the concept of egregores, particularly the Illuminati and Baphomet, and their influence on culture and power structures. Egregores are thought forms that manifest spiritually and can centralize power. The speakers highlighted the spiritual implications of modern society, including the challenges of finding genuine spiritual guidance and the impact of hypermaterialism. They discussed the historical and contemporary use of egregores by powerful entities such as corporations and secret societies to manipulate and control. The conversation emphasized the importance of maintaining spiritual awareness and the potential for spiritual human growth despite these challenges. So today we're exploring collective influence, how movements, institutions, media, and even family systems can create a field that shapes our choices, and how elders can reclaim sovereignty, voice, and legacy. So my guest today is Tyler Kiwala. Am I saying it correctly?
Yes, you are.
Tyler is an ET experiencer, independent researcher, and passionate disclosure activist, most popularly known in the awakening community for Journey to Truth podcast, hosted by himself and fellow disclosure activist Aaron Kuhn. Together, they have created a platform for discussing any and all controversial and eye-opening topics without limitations in an effort to spread awareness to the masses. Tyler's journey began with a levitation experience shortly after his mother's passing in 2010 that ended with intense paralysis and visitation from shadow people. This would lead to experiences with inner earth beings, Sasquatch greys, reptilians, and recruitment attempts into covert military programs. Tyler is currently in the process of retrieving suppressed memories from what he believes are from his involvement with agencies within the shadow government. Thank you very much for being here. You were like the one I wished to be within this topic. It just felt perfect for it to be you.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Yay. Well, I look forward. I'm gonna really delve in deep, not with the egregore topic itself, but the parameters of what it encapsulates for everybody, for all of us. Nobody's free really from this. So my first question, when did you first realize you were becoming an elder? Not by age, but by presence. Have you ever looked at yourself as an elder?
That's the first time somebody called me sir at the grocery store. Um, no, so that's an interesting question. I've always felt 10 years older than I am, even 20 years old. Like I've always felt, even at a young age, all my friends were older. I always hung out. I was just, gravitated towards the older crowd. So that being said, now I'm almost 40 years old and I feel like I'm 60. Yeah, I feel like I can't, I don't know, on a soul level, I should say.
Mhm.
Like I feel like um when I hang out with people my age, well, not so much as I get older because things balance out when you get older, but definitely younger. I always felt like I didn't fit in with people in my age group. I was more on the mentality and maturity level of people older than me. So it's an interesting question to ask because I have always thought that about myself. I felt like an old soul.
Me.
People have told me that I'm wise beyond my years and all that stuff. And I just find it interesting that you asked me that question for one, but I don't know how to answer when I realized that I was an elder. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on what you're looking for.
Well, I think it's like I think a 7-year-old can be an elder. I mean, when we look through all different peoples, that there's like a I mean, I don't think, as a child that our brain says elder. I don't know that we go into that, but exactly like what you're just describing, that recognition that you are an old soul. And when you look at the level of material that you are bringing forward and that you are reaching out into the public with such expansion, really, and courage. And so it's elder has so many different connotations, but I think it's more just looking at, and maybe it's this moment.
Right.
Maybe I'm bringing it forward for you now to really start to embrace that you are an elder and the level of support that you're bringing to the public. And kudos. I mean, I salute you for everything you've done because it takes a lot of courage in today's world with the level of censorship and what's happened to so many people that have spoken out.
Right. Yeah, there's been a lot of pushback as far as, what we do and from a lot of individuals, and some of it's significant, some of it's just
Mhm.
a troll, but there's definitely it takes courage. I mean, this isn't the career path if you want to be liked and popular, because you're challenging belief systems, and that's what this is about. I kind of grew up and I never really was religious. I was born into religious families, but I rejected it. I resisted it as a child, which I shut that down so I didn't allow myself to be programmed with all that information. I don't know why I rejected it at a very young age. And then going through school, I just thought most of it was nonsense. I didn't pay much attention. I was tuning out most of the indoctrination my whole life. So then whenever I got to a certain age, I didn't realize I was doing it, but when I got to a certain age and started learning the deeper truths of our reality and what's really going on here, what this place actually is, I it was much easier for me to grasp those concepts because I didn't have to let go of any preconceived belief that I had before. I mean, obviously we all have beliefs, right? But I was not tied or married to any belief or religion or anything like that. Um, I think on a soul level, I always knew that there was something on the horizon for me. I didn't know what it was, and I think that was like moving into this truth movement and something like what I'm doing now. So I don't know where I was really going with that, but I definitely understand that it was easier for me to grasp these concepts and do what I'm doing and speak out with and be able to believe in it without having to let go of something in order for it to fit because it was just me connecting dots coming from a very neutral place. And that's kind of, I think, what helped me along the way.
That's great because I think you're, without giving a set date, that this elder concept has been with you for quite a long time. I think it is, uh, stepping outside the box and
Yeah,
being willing to be in it, but not necessarily understanding why you're going that direction. And yet it's just so cool to understand our inner guidance was working with us from such a young age. Like, yay.
right.
So what
Yeah,
does elder leadership mean to you in this chapter of your life?
that's interesting because I feel a responsibility at this point, especially after seeing the corruption, not only on the world stage, but within these communities, and a lot of plants and agents, or just people who aren't healed, who are in it for the wrong reasons. Or, there's lots of egos involved, and I'm not excluding myself from all that because we've all done things and we learn the hard way, right? So I'm not saying that I'm above anyone, but I saw what was happening. I came into this movement putting people, all these truthers and these spiritual gurus and people I was listening to, I had them all on a pedestal.
Yes.
And when I met them, I felt like I was meeting a celebrity. And it was like this whole thing where I was giving my power away to them, right? But then what was the most heartbreaking thing is when I finally met a number of the people that I was following online, a handful of them turned out to not be at all who they portrayed themselves to be on camera. It's a not they weren't living in integrity. And I got to see behind the scenes what was really happening behind this movement. And it was super interesting to me and heartbreaking. And a number of people experienced the same thing. And I know people who just they had that experience where they meet that person or they go to this event and they realize these people are not who we think they are. They're not living in integrity. They're not, practicing what they preach and whatever. Not everybody, by the way, not everybody,
Right,
but there,
right.
but I see people have a really bad experience with even one individual, and then they throw in the towel and they just leave the whole community
Wow.
entirely. And
Mhm.
then they go back to whatever matrix life they were living before because they could no longer trust because this person that was sharing all this amazing information turned out to be not who they thought they were. So now they can no longer trust that person. They no longer knew what to believe. The whole purpose of me telling you this is I saw this over and over, and I've experienced this over and over, even to very recently, people that I thought were friends. Like it's like the sleeper cell activations. It's like these
Mhm.
people just get flipped on and they're not who you thought they were. And it doesn't make any sense. It's heartbreaking. It confuses you. You don't know what to do. And the easiest thing to do is run from it and just go back and then hang all this stuff up and quit exploring, quit looking for the truth. They're all crazy. All these people are nuts. So I'm just going to go back to my life in the matrix, right? That's what people do. My responsibility is to let people know that there are some of us out there that are who we portray ourselves as. And like I feel like I want to give people hope in the sense that when they meet myself or Aaron or anybody involved with Journey to Truth and what we do, they get their understanding that, oh, like some of these people are genuine, real people that are doing this. And I just feel it's important to give people that hope still. Like let people see, like, listen, we're not all scumbags. We're not all trying to con you. We're not all whatever it is. And I feel like that to me is like just being a voice of reason when there's nothing but confusion is important to me. And I don't know what I'm doing most of the time, but I'm just following my
Yeah.
guidance and my
Mhm.
heart and then showing up, even against all odds sometimes, against a lot of
Mhm.
pushback, like we talked about earlier. So basically, there's wisdom in all of this that can't be taught. Like you have to go through these trials and tribulations and learn the hard way and gain these experience points. It's like your parents telling you something when you were a kid, and yeah, okay, it's in one ear out the other. But then you're 30 years old, and suddenly something happens in your life, and then you're like, oh, now I know why my parents were telling me that. It took us 30 years to learn the hard way to finally get something that somebody was trying to tell us 30 years ago. It's the same with what we're dealing with now. Everyone here has to learn the hard way. We all still carry that programming, right? And unfortunately, I was reading like ET channel information book. I don't remember which one it was at this point. I've read so many books, but it was whatever group this was being channeled was like, unfortunately, we've learned a long time ago that humans like to learn the hard way. In fact, that's the only way they learn. They don't listen to us when we tell them. So we allow all this stuff to happen on your planet because after generations, we've understood that the only way you learn is the hard way. So that was, interesting to me because it's so true. So we all go through this stuff and we learn the hard way, but we're gaining wisdom. Like it's not for nothing. You can look at all that and just think this has been horrible, or you can understand what it's been trying to teach you and what you've learned from it and how you've grown from it and the wisdom you've gained and the knowledge. And it's just a really beautiful thing.
Yay. I mean, I I can totally agree with you. And I think one of the things that we still get, even from the ones that we can't always, that have changed our trust outlook, and with alters and all the different programming that's in there, I'm not surprised. But there's also always those seeds, those morsels of information that, even though they may be acutely messed up in the majority of their reality, they still can bring in some morsels that can sit and be something that's usable later on down the line. So,
100%. Everyone carries something. Everyone
mhm,
has a piece of the puzzle. Everyone has something to offer, something in their voice. It doesn't matter, even if they are an actual CIA hired government
mhm,
plant, they're still testing people's discernment. They're still playing a role in this whole big
mhm.
game, right? And it all serves a purpose.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you feel you're here to protect, transmit, or complete? That's a biggie.
Yeah, yeah, you put me in a hot seat here.
I know these are all like that. I do this to everybody. People say, "Oh, I feel like you're putting me through my PhD."
Yeah. Well, for one, there's a lot of truths out there. I don't know. At the end of the day, I know that I don't know anything, but there's a lot of truths out there that I see are really targeted and being suppressed, and they're trying to make it look silly, like the secret space program. That's why we did our documentary. Um, and I'm like, man, if I stop doing this, if we stop doing what we're doing and stop talking about this stuff, like they would love for us to give up. That's why all this pushback even happens, right? They would absolutely love for us to throw. They love every time somebody says, "I'm leaving the community," whatever. They're like, "Yes, we got another one." That's the whole purpose for everything, all the chaos they're creating. I feel like if we hung it up, I'm like, man, I feel like based on the feedback we get from our audience and the ripple effects that I've known we've had for years now, just based on what other people are saying, I understand the ripple effect that we would have if we just stopped doing what we're doing. And believe me, I've considered it because it's hard and sometimes you wonder if it's worth it. And things happen even down to a personal level and it's just like, man, why are we doing this? To what end? But I understand that like if we throw in the towel and say we're done, this is too hard, then other people might follow suit, right? They might, it's like, well, like if they're out of the fight, then what hope do we have? Not saying that we're really that big of a channel or anything, but I understand the people and the lives that we impact. And even if it's a small number, it's still an impact.
Oh, for sure.
It still creates a ripple effect.
Yes.
So maybe remind me of your original question again.
So
What
it
am I
was
put?
it was
Yeah.
what do you feel you're here to protect, transmit, or complete?
Yeah. So basically kind of what I was saying, like protecting the truths that I know are valid based on what I've seen over the years. And not just protecting that, but making sure that the information doesn't get lost in the mix. And like we're keeping it alive. And they're trying to rewrite history and pretend like none of this ufology, history of ufology, or any of the SSP stuff. They're trying to pretend like it never happened. And with this new current alien.gov disclosure that we're getting, it's like hilariously surface level.
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, okay, finally they're telling us, but it's so surface level, and they're forgetting. They want all the new people to think that that's all there is, and they want that history to be forgotten, and we're not going to let that happen. So we're protecting the history of all the whistleblowers who have risked their lives over the years coming out. We're protecting that information and just the movement in itself, because like I said, if somebody doesn't stand solid and live in integrity and be a voice of reason, and what's the point then? If everything just falls apart. So I feel like we're acting as like a glue in a sense. And I know we've lost a lot of support over the years. A lot has to do with political stuff. I mean, there's a division within division within division. Everything is so branched out and just split up by now. The unity in the community, that term is largely um, it's gone in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
There's yeah, a lot of people aren't working together, and I understand one of the key components to that is mind control.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are being mind controlled to turn against each other.
Mhm.
And if you don't believe that's actually happening, well, it takes years of research and understanding this at a very deep level and experiencing things yourself to really understand it. But the most recent Mission Impossible movie, there's a lot of disclosure in those movies, I think. And the whole AI that they're fighting in the movie, what the AI is doing is literally entering the minds of these people
Yes.
and turning them against each other, relying on the fact that they're never going to work together now that they both have been convinced by this external force that they're enemies.
Mhm.
And that's how the ETs that have been controlling this planet have been creating wars all along. They create these fake scenarios, these fabricated issues, and they put things into the minds of these countries, and then nothing ever really happened. It was all being instigated by somebody, and all of a sudden this person's an enemy, and now these people are warring with each other when really there was no problem to begin with, but there was a
Right.
higher force that wanted them to divide and conquer, and they do that down to an individual level in our personal lives. So understanding all that and rising above that, not letting it get to us. And every person out there that wants to consider me or Aaron and I an enemy, that's fine. We still send love back to everybody because we
Yay.
understand that it's actually a lot of people don't even know what they're doing because they're being used and they don't, unbeknownst to them. And unfortunately, we see that a lot. What's that Bible phrase? Forgive thou brother,
Forgive.
for he knows not what he does, or
Mhm.
whatever. That's exactly true. That's what most people don't. It's not necessarily them that is doing anything. It's what's working through them. And if we we're not falling victim to that, and it's been difficult. So we're just trying to rise above it, and all the hatred that comes our way, we just send love back. And whatever it looks like at the end that's probably inevitable, but we have to stay in our own lane, keep our side of the street clean, and just protect what we have left.
Well, thank you for your perseverance and your dedication because it truly does. It is when I see it just as an image, it really is that tiny little first flower that comes up from a seed. When you see how absolutely dear something like that is, we can't even fathom, like the mustard seed, we can't even fathom how really powerful something like that is from an expansion setting, just because of frequencies that come through. So thank you for that. Have you ever
Right.
felt pulled by a group movement, institution, or ideology in a way that changed your behavior or identity anytime in your life?
Yeah, I would say that's how my awakening started.
Mhm.
Had I not been pulled in to this movement that, I don't know, some people can consider certain aspects of what's happening very cultish. Some of it has a very cult-like feel. But had I not been pulled into that early on, it I needed that to break my programming from the
Mhm.
matrix, like to break me out of that. Basically, I was living an autopilot lifestyle. I really was just going through the motions of life, not really thinking about what I was doing until I started thinking about it. And I found some people, I found this community, that from the outside, from looking back on it, sometimes it might have been a cult, even though the cult leader might not even known they were a cult leader.
Mhm.
But the thing is it broke me out of what it helped me. It was a stepping stone for me, a necessary stepping stone. And I met so many great people, and it actually was what inspired the idea for our podcast. And so many
Oh,
good things
cool.
came out of it. It wasn't all bad, and by
Right.
definition it was never like a labeled cult, but this groupthink mentality that happens, like the egregore that you're talking
Right.
about, people, it's like we leave one program and then just fall right into another one where we're just giving our power away to somebody else, like a whistleblower or some spiritual guru, right? And that's what I did. I was like, oh wow, this person has all the truth. I'm going to follow them, and then like I said earlier, you realize the whole thing isn't really what it looks like from the outside. It can look very well packaged, but then once you get into the nitty gritty, there's really no stable foundation there. So, I mean, I don't know, you're challenging me with some difficult
I
stuff
know
here.
I'm asking you some good ones. I do this to everybody, but these are all pertinent to the egregore philosophy that is just like it's everywhere. It can even be Buddhism and Hinduism.
Right,
I mean,
right.
and there's positive and negative egregores, but it's just so wild. Like one of the things that I've seen out there that's so sad right now is there's a lot of single mothers that have put their heart and soul into raising their children, and especially daughters, and they're walking away completely from the mothers and taking the grandchildren away. And I feel like it is an egregore that got started within the public school system because it's too freaky. Like it's happening to all of us. And we all put so much energy and love, into our kids. But at the same time, like you, if any of us were outside the box, like you've done, like I've done, it does create a demarcation between the norm and the egregore philosophy. So that's one of the biggest areas I'm seeing it in for mothers. It's so sad. It's so sad. Like our heart breaks for sure. And just finding the way to keep going. And yet there's other
Yeah.
young females that still look at us and say, you're like my mother. So there's still ones that come in and it just might not be by blood, but
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
yeah, that system's designed. I mean, that's been
right.
intentionally designed, and they're trying to replace the parental units with the government, right?
Mhm.
Even fathers, like there's incentives for single mothers, financial incentives for single mothers. It makes more sense for them to have a child with a man and leave the man and file for child support, but also when they file their taxes. I mean, there's so many benefits to being a single mother
Mhm.
financially that it's incentivized, and they know that.
Mhm. So what were the benefits of belonging to that collective? What did it give you? I mean, you kind of already talked about it, that it was like a starting point for you, even though
Yeah,
you found some things that were out of integrity. I mean, like, do you think it was like a core foundation for your truly stepping more into your own integrity?
100%. Yeah, it
Mhm.
was. I wouldn't have changed a thing about it. It was actually
Yeah.
some of the. It was the best time in my life. I
Mm.
finally found purpose in life. I met like-minded people. I met this community. I felt like I belonged somewhere for the first time in my life. And whether or not what was pulling the strings at the top was of integrity or not didn't matter. And it still doesn't matter at the end of the day because what came from that was tons. I don't even know how many beautiful friendships I've
Yeah.
made from people. And then I met my co-host and we started a podcast and like so much came out of that. There was really, at the end of the day, there was nothing bad about it at all, even though some of it might not have been what you thought it was when you got into it. But that's the lessons in life, right? That's there. So you could either be heartbroken and throw in the towel, like I said, or you can be heartbroken but grow from it and learn from it. Okay, what is this teaching me? Now I understand I'm not going to give my power away like that again.
Mhm.
It happened once, I'm not going to let it happen again. So then I go in with these new, looking at the next movement or the next person through this new lens, and I'm looking for the red flags now, and I'm seeing through it all. But so then you learn. It taught me how to navigate
Cool.
this
That's
world,
great.
and there's so much I learned from it, and I'm still learning. And some of it still doesn't make sense, but at the end of the day, I understand like the depth and the magnitude of this spiritual war and how they're using people. That anyone who's not, if you're not on some sort of a healing path, trying to discover who you are and clear and heal some past life traumas, childhood traumas, whatever it is, if you still have chinks in your armor and you're trying to tell the truth, the dark forces will, I won't even say maybe, they will take advantage of you. They will take advantage of those chinks in your armor and they will do whatever it takes to steer you down the wrong path
Mhm.
and self-destruct and self-sabotage, and we see it over and over again. And then next you can tell who those people are because they become extremely paranoid. They don't trust anybody,
Mm.
and everyone's an enemy, and they
Right.
become an online troll. They start attacking everybody.
Mm.
It's a mind virus. They've let it get to them. They're not learning the lesson. They're freezing these people in time, thinking, "Oh, I'm it's not I'm not the problem." And then, that you're getting down to like narcissistic tendencies and stuff. It's that they're put into this position where they're pointing a finger at everyone else and they stop taking accountability. And whenever you do
Exactly.
that, and there's still that, whenever there's still ego, if you have any form of ego, they're going to play on that. They're going to make you feel special. I mean, there's so many ways that control people. So if you're not like hyper self-aware and understand what to look for and how to identify red flags and just how to navigate this movement, this community, this world. I shouldn't even say that, just how to navigate this world,
Yeah.
um, because you'll easily be led astray if you don't understand what you're up against. And I think that's why a lot of our paths are so hard at sometimes because we have to learn, like I said earlier, we have to learn the hard way, but also we have to understand what we're up against at such a deep level. And you're like, wow, we're dealing with actual like crazy sociopaths, psychopaths, like I mean, demonic entities, like mind control that you just can't even fathom.
Right.
All of it, all of it that most people in the normal world would just never consider being a
Mhm.
possibility. And people on the outside looking in, if they don't understand that that's the case, then they're going to believe some of these people that are spiraling out, because
Mhm.
they've been taken over. So it's such a very interesting thing. But to go back to the original question, it was the most life-changing thing I ever
Yay.
experienced. Yeah, and it was beautiful. And
Yay.
there was nothing wrong with it. And if somebody is in a group and following somebody right now, let it lead you where it's supposed to take
Mhm.
you. And then if there's a hard lesson at the end of that road, then so be it. Take that lesson and then use that thing as a stepping stone and move on. You don't have to go backwards because it wasn't what you thought it was. But now you have this wisdom you've gained from that situation, and you can carry that into all other areas of your life.
Totally. So, um, so you pretty much covered this one, so I'm going to ask this next question. So, how do you personally tell the difference between your inner truth and a collective story? What have you learned because of that then?
Well, and this is going to be different for everyone, so
Right.
I'll answer what it is for me. I've always been an empath my whole life. I didn't
Mhm.
understand what that was. I feel people's emotions very strongly to
Yeah.
the point where it can be crippling.
Mhm.
And I thought everyone had that ability until I was older and started talking to people and like somebody would leave the room and I would be like, "Did you feel that?" And every people would look at me like, "What are you talking about?" Like you couldn't feel that? Like holy cow, whatever it was. Um, what happened is I realized I started understanding how my body responded to certain energies.
Ah.
And and I just that gut feeling, like when people talk about gut feelings, I don't know what it means to them, but to me, it's
Mhm.
a hard physical sensation. I feel in my gut. And if something's off, if something's a lie, or if there's deception at all, I can't ignore it. Like my body it will be screaming at me.
Mhm.
So that's my compass. I use that as like when we're interviewing people or I'm like being offered a situation to go, whatever it is, I'm feeling into the energy behind it. Like you almost stop listening to the words coming out of people's mouths. And in fact, you can tell a lot, you can learn a lot more about a person by the energy behind what they're saying than what they're actually saying.
Right.
And there's some people, and sometimes you don't, it's not really about calling people out, but just understanding, okay, I know who that person is now. And I just let them think they're getting away with whatever they're doing. And I pretend I play dumb to the situation most of the time, because I understand trying to call people out like that. It actually, um,
Right.
you're dealing with demons, actual demons.
They
And they,
love drama. Love that
yeah.
drama.
Yeah, there's no reasoning with it. And in fact, they want you to call them out so you can get sucked into that and take the bait. And then now you're focused on this fight instead of
Right.
the fight instead of what we're here to do and bring this truth, right? So for me, it's all my how my body responds to information, you know. I know how my body feels when I'm hearing truth, and I know how my body responds
Cool.
when it detects deception. There's a big difference. Um, sometimes I'll be in a room with 100 people and they'll all believe this person, and
Mhm.
my gut is just going off. I'm like, oh my God, they don't see it.
Right.
And I'm not saying I'm like some guru or master, but
No.
I've learned that anytime I've not honored that feeling and not honored my intuition, it always inevitably ends up bad for me. So I just have to honor it. And sometimes you just have to bite your tongue and let everyone learn, watch them fall for it and learn the hard way. And some people never learn. I mean, it's just, it's crazy. It's really, it comes down to like back to what I said earlier about how much energy and effort are you putting into healing your traumas and your wounds and your programming, and like all the stuff that, you know, we were just born into. If you're not actually doing the shadow work, then you're not going to ever be in a place energetically to even detect that type of stuff, because you're going to be all up in your mind and you're only hearing the information and you're not paying attention to your body at all. And that's the big difference.
I love it. So I can identify because it's kinesthetic. I was at a seminar out in Crestone, and this person overheard me sharing something with somebody, which I don't usually do that kind of personal like that, but for some reason it was about related to children. And so she came up to me the next day and she lived next door to the Rothschilds.
Oh, interesting.
And she badly wanted to interview me and kept saying, you need to get your story out there. And I haven't ever had this kind of a visceral reaction. My entire body was shivering. Like I just kept saying, no, that's not important to me. You know, I don't need that. I don't need that in my healing at this point. But it was pretty wild to get that kind of visceral reaction. And I mean, it was just so wild to meet somebody that was out there in the healing community living next door to him. Like,
Right.
so that was pretty wild. So,
Yeah, I get it. I understand.
oh, how do you personally tell the difference between your inner truth and a collective story? You just kind of talked about the same thing, but so basically it's still just what I just asked you. It's really just your kinesthetic response to it.
Right. Yeah. And I understand that most of the time when a large group of people are all agreeing on something or
Mhm.
excited about something, like this, it creates a consensus reality where it becomes true for them. And that's where this gets difficult. And it doesn't mean that I'm right either. But for me personally, I understand that is a sign for me not to lean into that, you know? So I'll see like a collective beliefs around certain conspiracy theories and stuff that, and no matter how much information people try to send me, I'm like, that's just, there's nothing in that for me. That doesn't feel like it came from an organic place. I can't get behind it. Sometimes I'll listen. I'm like, well, what are they saying? And I'm like, yeah, like there's like major layers of deception here. And like people are like, there's like neuro linguistic programming, and people are
Yes.
throwing like these influencers are like throwing their voice, and they're like actually manipulating their audience and like putting them under a spell. And I'm just like, wow, there are like by the time this person will be talking, by the time they've gotten to the end of what they're doing, the audience has been manipulated 10 different ways.
Mhm.
It's like there's a psychology in it. They're pulling you here, then here, but and they're playing on emotions and getting you to feel good, and then they'll follow it up with a compliment, but then they'll say something that doesn't quite feel right. And which is where you see, which is the red flag, which is you kind of see that's where the truth starts to come out. But then because they have to tell you, but then they'll come back with another compliment or something else to distract you. I mean, they're pulling you all over the place. By the end of it, you've forgotten the red flag that you saw 30 minutes ago because they pulled the wool over your eyes by the end of it. And that's the trick. And I see it over and over again. You have to learn how to like study people and realize like, oh wow, this person like they're really good at this. They sound very compelling. I call them like the spiritual used car salesman. They get up there
Yes.
and
Yes, I use that too.
they're so polished and they can sell you anything, you know. And and it sounds amazing, they'll provide the, like, it's all this hopium, and they'll give you hope, and they'll make you feel like you're part of it, and then you're like, yeah, and it's like this whole cheerleading campaign, and it's not really there's always some good that comes from that, because it does, like, there's real, like, truth in, like, inspiring people, and grabbing on to, like, hope, and, like, fighting for something. But if you understand, in some cases there's an underlying agenda behind that, then you can see the trick, right? You can detect that deception, you see the illusion. But once you see it, it loses power over you. And not everyone is going around, like, I don't know. Like, self-awareness is key, but also just awareness in general.
Mhm.
And like, most people aren't really looking at it that deeply. I don't feel like people are mostly, like, they're responding. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Like, there's, like, these trigger responses, right? Like these knee-jerk reactions, these like, there there's no emotional intelligence. So whenever you don't have emotional intelligence, you're going to easily be pulled into these feelings that there are literally being tugged at, and that's all part of the trick. Anyway, I don't know how to articulate what I understand, but I hope it's coming across.
Which is okay, because I don't know that we can always, we're so used to using language as our way.
Right,
And
right.
sometimes it's just going to be, that in Soma, I'm doing some major curriculums on all the different kind of contracts, ostracism contracts, obedience contracts, relational contracts, where you can't leave the exactly like what you're describing, whatever the group think becomes, how easily you're enticed into it. So, I can identify with with what you're talking about. And I pretty much for when I've been doing my healing since 1987, since the harmonic convergence. I was actually in Sedona when I
Mm,
truly started my healing, and it went full blast in 89 was when I started getting my memories up. And so I've been at it for a long time. And it's been, in a way, kind of a slow crawl up, because
right,
exactly like what you said, because I loved going into the groups. I'm from a big family. So, and I missed my family because I really did pull away from them. But it's been, that's a journey. It's like you get this kind of titillation, which is kind of the egregore type philosophy. And yet it can shift so fast and so dramatically. So I found myself really pulling away. I mean, you've been great about, at least you're doing your events, which is cool, because then you have a little bit more control over the people that are coming in. But yes,
right.
it's definitely a journey. So, okay, you're covering so many of these things. I don't need to ask as your
And
question.
congratulations, by the way, for making it this far. You're still
Mhm.
here fighting, and that's amazing. So that
Thanks.
gives me hope too. Like, because I mean, I can't imagine, like, you've been awake since '89 or whatever, and you're still here.
Mhm.
Like, we're like, okay, when's this gonna happen? But here you are. You've learned a lot, and you're still doing this. So I appreciate that.
And it's really cool. I'm finally at a safe enough and far enough growth, because I've done so much study. I really went into the trauma stuff. I learned a lot there, and where I can, I feel safe enough to finally get my voice out there. And it's taken. The calling was to really start working with the elder population and the voices of the elder population, because it's sad that so many people aren't out there speaking their voice and sharing their wisdom, because when you walk through this much bumps and grinds and all these different decades of passages, it you got some bruises. So to be at this point, we have a lot to offer, especially the older elder population, because I do truly believe elders can be any age. But yeah, so it's finally coming to pass where I feel like, okay, you can do this now. You can finally get out there, and that's why I really like the curriculums I'm bringing forward, because they're going into the in-depth stuff that we just don't even realize we all have.
Hmm.
Still the nitty-gritty of just our own, growth pockets that we need to clear out. So
Right.
I think you're really covering so much of this. You're doing great. I don't even have to ask you. What invisible contracts have you had to release in your life? Family roles, religion, political identity, marriage roles, and gender roles.
Yeah, well, that probably a lot. Definitely family roles. Uh, you know, I, the contract of where I was born, living in St. Louis,
I'm a
breaking.
St. Louisan, just so you know.
Are you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was born there.
Oh, great. What part?
Webster.
Okay. Yeah, you're not far from me. I was South County, so
Did you ever hear about the documentary called 16 in Webster Groves?
no, I haven't. Yeah, send it over. I'll watch it.
Well, I don't know. It was way back when. It was when I was in sixth grade. So
Yeah,
they did a documentary on us, and it was Charles Kuralt from 60
really.
Minutes, and
Okay.
they showed everybody at a funeral of a student. They did like 6 weeks worth of work on this documentary of questioning and talking to everybody, and then they diced and cut and edited the heck of it out of it. One of the things he said is why these kids don't even know how to put on their own diapers. It was so dark. It was so
Really?
bad. And it was like, wow, what was I mean, I still to this day don't know why
Right.
that one occurred. But yeah. So where were you? You were in the city, weren't you?
No, I was South County, so I'm 15 minutes, 15, 20
Okay.
minutes south of the city. But um yeah, but that was a big contract. If we were gonna use the word contract to describe these things, that was one that was really hard to break and get out of. And
Mhm.
in fact, I was trying to leave there for years, and I realized, well, I guess the first big one before that was my job, which I'll get into in a second. But uh, that was, I was trying to get out of there for years.
Mhm.
And I kept getting, there was like this hamster wheel that I could not get off of. And I kept getting pulled back and things kept happening. And it was just like, at some point, I understood what was happening. Like a normal person would be like, oh, well, I guess it's not meant to be. But I'm like, no, I was so stagnant there that there was no more soul growth for me where I was there.
Mhm.
And I understood on the other side of that leap of faith was going to be something big for me. And it turned out to be true. But it was hard. And even when I got out of St. Louis and got to Sedona, there was a lot of default programming that was trying to pull me back.
Oh, I bet.
I felt like I had betrayed my family and this and that. And I started like questioning everything. Like, did I do the right thing? And it was like I started spiraling in my own thoughts. And I had a good support system here of people that helped me through that and helped me out of that. And we went on this road trip and I went all the way up to Banff, Canada. And I didn't even want to go on the trip.
Ooh,
Um,
that's a beautiful area.
yeah.
Beautiful.
But this is explaining how I broke this contract. I went right after I got here. We did this long road trip, a group of us, and all the way to Banff, Canada. I mean, it's a far point up there, right?
Yeah.
Well, I felt like it took that. It was like this rubber band from St. Louis. Like the rubber band was still connected in Sedona, but then I had to drive all the way up to Banff and go on this crazy road trip where all this wild shit happened, and I felt like the rubber band finally snapped at some point,
Wow.
and I could actually start enjoying myself and start actually like settling into this new way of life. But it took complete chaos for that to happen.
Mhm.
I had to become so uncomfortable. And I realized I didn't want to go on that trip because I like moving outside of St. Louis was already
Mhm.
breaching my comfort zone, right? But then going on this 30-day road trip after I just moved, I'm just trying to get settled in. I had to like set it up so it was so chaotic for myself. And it had to like snap me. It literally had to snap that rubber band and I had to create that for myself. And once I did, it forced me so far out of my comfort zone that I had no choice but to lean into this new world, this new life, right? And when I did that, that's when the magic starts happening.
Mhm.
But had I allowed myself to just fall victim to the default programming and go back or stay, um, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I know that, and that's one example of breaking a contract, an invisible contract that I didn't even know was in place.
Right.
And it seems like, if you read my book or anybody that's read my book, like there was definitely some forces, external forces at play that were trying to keep me at bay, trying to keep me in St. Louis, because they understand like people like us that are on this mission. Like if we're being called somewhere that it can actually not just help us, but help the collective, right?
Right, right.
That's a threat. So they'll create scenarios in your life, and if they can't get to you, they'll work through the people around you,
Mhm.
or just the most insane things will happen. You wouldn't believe, like we could do a whole episode on the stories that were trying to keep me
Wow.
reeled into St. Louis. The things that were happening when as I was trying to move, it was hilarious. And even people like my cousin who's not into this, he's like, he's very religious, and he's like, don't, he goes, that's the devil trying to keep you here. Fight it, fight it. Like he knew just from his own lens, like what's happening is it was very interesting. But I against all odds, I broke that contract. But then once you do that, then it's amazing.
Yeah, it's raw.
And
It's raw newness.
yeah,
It's like you're creating a new seed with that new plant that's growing in it. I mean, I can understand because I walked away from a family of seven and a twin brother.
right.
And I had to because I knew if I stayed in my family system, I would take care of their needs and wants because I'm such an empath as well. And I couldn't. Like I literally couldn't for my survival. I missed them so much when I took that step. So I can identify with what you endured and wild that it was chaos, and everything that you had to incur.
Mhm.
But at least you got to go to such a gorgeous, I mean, that's a beautiful, beautiful area of the country.
Yeah, it really is. It's stunning every day.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like record heat already, but still, I like the heat. The cold was another thing that was keeping me uh, depressed. Even like seasonal depression really would set in St. Louis. You wouldn't see the sun for weeks at a time. It was freezing. It hurt to go to your mailbox. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm like, this isn't. I don't like this. Like, I don't. I want to thrive somewhere, And here I can do that. So it's amazing.
Yeah. So if you could name one vow you're done living under, what is it? It's interesting for us to look at the vows. And if you can't answer that, I understand because that's a deep question to really start looking at vows that we've taken without even always being conscious of it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really have to think about that, but I don't allow myself I don't hold myself back in a way. Like I used to be I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm much more free and open-minded, and I'm ready to uh, pursue life in a way where I would have been in the past scared to.
Mhm.
And I'm not living in that fear anymore. So like I didn't know I was living in fear, but
Right.
it was that comfort zone, right? And even though I've done so many things to break all these different comfort zones, living in fear like of what could happen on the other side of that, like I had to let go of that, and
Yeah.
that's what this move did for me. And in fact, was a quote that I heard. There's like, um, the scariest choices in life are usually the ones that lead to the most growth.
Walking through those
And
edges. Yep.
yeah, like if it seems super easy, I mean, yeah, that's great. Like we always want to go with the flow. But when you're talking about a major life decision, like I started thinking about moving, and I'm like, it was scary
I can't even imagine. I bet your whole body went into a nervous system deregulation on that one, probably because think about the programming you were
yeah,
going against. Like
right,
you went to really put out there all the curriculums I'm doing on these different kind, everything I'm bringing forward. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this stuff is so good that
right,
it's literally like a mosaic when you look
right,
at all the things that you're trying to work through. So, and maybe it's both of us coming from St. Louis, that I can even understand it better.
right.
But
But you know what helped me though is it was, fear is an illusion depending on how you look at it, but it can also really drive you and motivate you in a sense
mhm,
that I was sitting with that thought of being scared to move, and do I just like sell my house and just move somewhere else in St. Louis? Will that feel better? Whatever. You weigh it all out, but I overanalyze things, and it can be my downfall, but it also can be like a great
mhm.
thing. And I realized it was even, I started sitting with it and I was like, what's even scarier than me moving is the thought of not moving, like where I'll be, like what will happen to me if I just stay here. That thought was even scarier to me when I sat with it. It was even scarier to me to sit with thinking about what my life would be like if I don't do this.
It's
Um,
stagnation, because that's one of the things
yeah,
we covered too in curriculums is just the stagnation. And that can be a
right,
group, that's a group like cohesion program that's enveloping us too. I mean, there's just, when you think of all, like you said, the rubber band, you think of all the straps and all the threads and all the everything cords that we're cutting.
right,
Dang, we're like inside like a ball of yarn.
right,
Okay, I'm cutting you, I'm cutting you, I'm cutting you.
right. Yeah, and it's always there's help. Like there's opportunities.
Yes.
Once you make that leap of faith, once you do whatever it is that you're afraid to do, there are opportunities and help on the other side of that that you quite literally couldn't see before. They weren't because you were in a different frequency. You're in a different reality. And once you break free from that reality, then all these things show up that in a million years you could have never fathomed because you were not on that bandwidth, right? So that happened to me when I quit my job, which I had to do what I'm doing now. And that's a whole story in itself. And so many programs broke with that.
Wow.
I was able to stop drinking alcohol. I always wondered how I was going to quit drinking alcohol because we started the podcast. I was a big partier and we
So was
started the
I.
podcast and I was still drinking periodically, even when we started this in 2019. Not like I used to, but I was still like,
Mhm.
it was having drinks and stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't like it anymore. It was a whole transition for me. Like I always equated fun to drinking. So I had to learn how to
Right.
have fun without
Right.
drinking, but I would Fridays would roll around. I was still in construction. Fridays would roll around and I'm like I would crave beer. Like it
Mhm.
was I didn't realize it then, but it was like a program. Like every Friday I would get off work and I would almost become hangry in the sense like I needed a beer now, you know? It was like a panic attack type of thing. It was bad. And I thought, my God, like I'm doing this podcast. I really want to like break free from this and live in integrity. But how am I going to ever stop drinking if I have these such strong cravings? When I quit my job, there were so many other things that happened. I didn't realize that that was an art that wasn't my craving. That was attached to this program that I was in. As soon as I quit my job and I broke the 40-hour work week cycle, Friday came around, I didn't even think about a beer.
Wow.
It never occurred to me. And then I was like, oh my God. I'm like, it's been a few weeks now. I haven't even thought about a beer. I haven't thought
Wow.
about drinking. And I was like, oh man, like it was such a program that I was in I was programmed to want that beer, to need that beer on Friday and do whatever I did to have fun and enjoy my weekend and reset. That was a program. Once I left the job, once I exited that matrix, I was able to quit drinking because I wasn't, the
I love
cravings
it.
went away with it. I never saw that one coming.
A beautiful example of an egregore. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, it's so benign sometimes how it's happening to us. We're so, I mean, you can't be, seeing all this
right.
stuff and discerning it all. But, I love how it works. And I mean, you got out, 10 years earlier than me. I didn't get out till I was in my 50s, like
Mm,
50s when I moved to Michigan,
right,
which was not a good place where I went to at all. I mean, there was good things about the location, but the person
right,
who got me there was, and he's back
hmm,
out there. I'm like, oh, golly, 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 golly.
right. I understand. Yeah. And just to finish my thought on that job, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
So yeah, I had known for at least 2 good solid years that I wanted to quit in construction. I was in commercial construction, union carpentry, and paid well. It didn't make any sense financially for me to quit. I was very well, and every time I tried to quit or think about it, they kept like trying to move me up the ladder in the company and give me
I
a company
bet.
truck, and that's like the past pushing back, right? That's how
Right.
they keep you in. Just whenever you're about to break free, break
Yes.
programming, like these offers come in that you almost like too good to be true, and
Yes.
I see people fall for it over and over.
Mhm.
Um, I had to turn all that down I was talking to a guy in a job and he's like, yeah, 20 more days and I'll be retired. And I was like, 20 more years I'll be retired. And I'm like, wait, no, 35, no, 40. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to do this for 40 more years. You know, there's no way I can't do like it. But I was like, I wish I only had 20 years left. And that's not even the case. And I was just like, and that was a moment I realized like, I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. I don't know how I'm going to get out, but I'm going to do it.
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm going to do for money. And, it was super scary, but then COVID hit and they started changing the rules and they wanted us to wear a mask at work and everything got weird and it was they changed our hours, which was good because I was working evenings instead of mornings. So and it was like the most beautiful spring we've ever had because
Oh, cool,
there
cool.
was like no chemtrails or anything anymore.
Uh,
They everything shut down.
yeah,
So
yeah.
even the chemtrails stopped. And then the animals started coming out of the woodwork. Like they just started showing up in the
Oh,
neighborhoods. And I was able to enjoy my mornings for the first time ever because of COVID screwing up my work hours. And I was working evenings. And for the first time in years, I was waking up and sitting on my back deck with my dog, drinking
yay.
tea,
Oh,
enjoying the weather. And like, I'm like, oh my God, like this is how I could start my morning. I don't have to wake up and speed brush my teeth and run out the door and whatever. Um, that was a realization. And I finally everything just kept happening. I kept snowballing until it just became so obvious. My soul was screaming at me to stop. You know, I started taking break in a different room from everyone else because I didn't align with the conversation anymore. And I'm like, I don't even align with these people. Like this isn't, there's nothing about this. There's nothing in this for me. But I didn't know how to quit. Finally, something happened one day, one last synchronicity. I'm like, that's it. This is a sign. In the middle of the day, I text my boss and say, hey, can we meet for lunch? And he just called me and he's like, what's up? And he's like, can't just tell me now. And I'm like, I want to quit. I was scared, you know. Um,
right.
I was like shaking. But actually, let me rewind. Before I called him, this is the whole point of the story I want to share with you. Um, when I actually made the decision that I was going to text him and do it that day, when I made that decision, I'm on a job site, construction site, tons of men, you know, and I had this crazy spiritual experience. As soon as I made a decision, I don't know what happened. It's like I left my body and I saw my guides
Uh-huh.
and I saw them standing around what literally looked like a crystal ball watching my life. And and I saw them celebrating like
Yay.
their team had just won the Super Bowl. Like they were hugging each other and celebrating.
Oh, that's
And then they just
fine.
I saw it was like a clear vision in the middle of the day at work. And then I saw them like collectively start just showering me with this light. And it was like love. And it was like this blissful energy that just showered over me in the middle of the job site. And I just broke down in tears and I started bawling my eyes out because it was so much love. And they were like, yes,
Wow.
like, finally, we are here to support
Yeah.
you. This is okay, you know? And I'm crying. I go hide in the room. I'm just crying. I'm like, what just happened, you know? But it took all the fear out of the phone call that I had to make, right? I was still a little scared, but it was so much easier to call him and say, listen, I quit, you know? And it worked. It ended up going out. He was like, no problem, dude. I totally understand. Like you always have a job here if you want, whatever. It was amazing. He goes, how about you just work till Friday? Because it was Wednesday. He's like, how about you just finish out the week? And and then that Friday would be your last day. And that's what happened. But I can see, like, I can imagine my guides were sitting there every day watching me go back to work, back and forth. Like, oh, there he goes again. He's doing it again. Like, come on, when is he finally gonna get it? And when I did, that moment happened, and they they showered me with so much love and support that it went from the scariest thing to the easiest thing I ever had to do.
That's
And then
lovely.
what happened next was this whole dam broke. Like there was a dam that just cracked, and all I was flooded with opportunities, like I said earlier. And I none of them I could have saw coming. I
Mhm.
just started having these things happen in my life that it was just like, holy cow, there's this whole other world outside of this construction industry that I was just sucked into, you know? And things just started flowing. Things just started happening, you know? And I started looking for jobs right away because I'm like, oh, what am I getting for money? What am I getting for money?
Right. You get
I don't have a
crazy.
plan. And I'm booking sessions with people like, what should I do for a career? And Nicole Frolic, a good friend of mine at the time, I had a session with her and I was like, can we pull some cards in a career? And she's like, the cards are saying, she's like, there's no career for you until you take this time to heal. Like you have been given an opportunity to work on all the stuff you've been forced to ignore because of your job. She's like, this is your vacation. This is the time you're supposed to take this time to work on yourself and heal all and deal with all the stuff that you know you've been learning about and whatever, but you haven't had time to do it. Now you have time. And she's like, until you do that, she goes, I don't see any job or career on the horizon. Like, this isn't about you finding a new job. This is about you finding out who you are and discovering who you are. And that's what this time is of your life is about. So I went through a whole period where I just had to struggle with money in a sense. Um, but I was so much happier. My money was here and my happiness was here. It flipped spot. It
Totally
traded
concur.
places. Yeah, it traded places. I wasn't making nearly the money I was making, but I was so much happier and I became healthier and I was able to meditate and do things I couldn't do and spend time in nature and even just spend time with my dogs and whatever it was.
Yay.
And I just had to honor that time to heal. And then things just once I did that, I've still booked a session with someone else. Like, I'm trying to like figure out a 5 year plan. She's like, why? Like, she goes, you realize how many limitations you set for yourself if you plan 5 years into the future? She's like, you will miss every opportunity that knocks at your door because you've already made up your mind where you want to be in 5 years. She's like, you have to live in the moment. She's like, what do you have to do right now? What, tell me in your mind, like, what's the most immediate thing that you have to do when you get back home? I said, I really been wanting to clean out my garage. It's been bothering me. She's like, do that. She
Yay.
goes, do that. Don't worry about anything else. And she goes, once you're done with that, the next step will present itself. And that's how you tackle life. And I was like, she's right. So I stopped even thinking about where I'm going to be in 5 years, 5 days from now, I stopped thinking about it and started living totally in the moment and doing what I had to do right now at this moment. And then the next thing would happen. And that's how I've been doing it ever since. And that's where I realized true abundance occurs. Because once you, like, the definition of anxiety is worrying about the future. Once I stopped worrying about the future, I'm able to enjoy myself so much more. If you're not being present, you're not even experiencing anything. You're not experiencing life if your mind is always somewhere else. So it changed everything for me. And then it allowed me to like just flow with life and the universe and uh, magical things happen. And abundance isn't money. It's not about money. It's just about how you live your life and the energy that you're generating and creating for yourself. So it's been amazing. It's been difficult, been rewarding, challenging, all the stuff that comes with life, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. So,
Beautiful story. I know so many times I heard myself say, if I'd only had the crystal ball that showed me that this is what life was going to look like. Of course,
right.
as soon as I say that now, because I've just gone through a horrific year that's been wild, but then it's like the universe says, okay, that means you're ready for some more challenges. We got some more growth for you now. And I'm like, oh, thank
Oh,
you
yeah.
kindly.
Yep. I've had many arguments with the universe, with my guides. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell?
Yes, I do know what you mean.
Yeah. We all have, though.
Maybe it's that we share that St. Louis. Okay, so what do you notice about how media shapes emotion, fear, and identity today, especially today?
Yeah. I mean, it's not how they shape it, it's that they are shaping it. And
Mhm.
that's it. That's just the thing. They're shaping your reality and they're telling you what to believe. They're not teaching you how
Mhm.
to critically think. They're putting this stuff in front of you. They're giving you they're presenting you with a set of choices and you think that's all there is, not realizing that there's this other path over here that leads to something much better than all that.
Mhm.
I mean, they play on your emotions. They rely on the fact that you're going to give your power away to them, and that the fact that you're still going to believe them after you know they're lying. Like I watched that happen even with people in the truther community and stuff, and they get really
Yeah.
mad about these things, these headlines and stuff. I'm like, it's 20. I made a video about. I'm like, it's 2026 and we're still believing the cover story.
Mhm.
First of all, it's a cover story. They're literally telling you it's a cover story. They're covering up the truth. It's not that. That's not what's happening. This war is being waged for reasons that we'll never know. But it's
Oh, how
certain,
can we? How can we? How can we?
right,
Because we probably couldn't handle some of the greater cosmic stuff that's really being played out, right?
right, yeah. So it's certainly not about the natural resources and things they're telling us. It's about. I mean, yeah, there's elements of that, right?
Yes, like the Stargate stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like the mundane surface level stuff that they want us to think
Mhm.
these wars are about and these political fabricated issues and stuff. That's all designed to play in your emotions. They want you to have that knee-jerk reaction, and they rely on, we're not taught emotional intelligence growing up. So if we're not taught emotional
Right.
intelligence, then they play on our emotions and they use that to manipulate us. And as soon as you get angry about something that you see on TV, they've got you. Now they're manipulating you, or you're even doing it for them. You don't, they've already set it all up, and we're just like programming ourselves now. That's why it's so important to be aware. But the media and the way it portrays the world is not reality, right?
Mhm.
And the whole purpose is to
None of
create a
it. I mean, the pictures can be from 10 years ago.
or video games or whatever.
I know.
The whole purpose is to create a reality that doesn't look anything like what you see on social media or TV. And it's not like that because you can be on your phone all day on TV and be mad and getting in arguments and whatever it is. And like, and you're like, next thing you know, you're commenting on something or you're sharing something that you weren't even thinking about 2 seconds before that. And
Mhm.
you're literally just being mind controlled all day. But when you walk out your front door and start talking to your neighbors and just being present with nature, it's a completely different world. Like the problems in this world are created through our devices nowadays.
Yes.
But when you walk outside, that's not what you see. Now, I'm not saying that people aren't living in harsh conditions and bad neighborhoods and in
Right.
poverty and like there's real issues
Oh,
there.
yes, yes.
But I'm just talking about like the bigger perspective here. Like you can go walk out your front door and experience real life, or you can experience this life inside of this thing that really isn't reality at all,
Mhm.
you know? And it's just crazy to think about how we let that stuff control us. And I still find myself getting sucked into some of it sometimes because that's what I do. I'm a researcher. I got to stay on top of
Yes,
this
yes,
stuff.
yes.
So, but you have to find balance.
Mhm.
And if it all possible, I'll do any of my social media work or anything outside. I bring my computer, my
Oh,
phone
yay.
outside.
Yay.
You got to find balance. Like if
Mhm.
I know I have to be on my phone making a post or whatever, I'll go lay outside and swing in my hammock that I installed recently because
Oh,
it makes me
cool.
happy. And like, so yeah, like I can still enjoy being outside. And even though I have to do something on my phone that I don't necessarily want to be spending time with, but I have to because
Mhm. I
that's part of what
understand.
I agreed to do here. So, yeah, to get back to the original question. I mean, it's not how it shapes our reality, it's that it is shaping our
Mhm.
reality. And once you realize that, it's so easy to navigate. You just like ignore all that stuff. It's interesting. And every once in a while, there's nuggets in there, but just
Well,
let it just be interesting. Don't let it distract you from life.
and I think the key words that I'm hearing with what you're saying is that it's not using the external to supplement who you are. It's really going inside and continuing to get in touch with. Because if we're bringing the formless into form here for the first time ever in reality, it's just learning to tap into all the inner wisdom that we all carry that is speaking to us, like you said before, screaming at you sometimes.
Hmm.
Just actually acknowledging it. And even some of the stuff you shared about when you left your job, because my husband just died and I've been in, just wildness again, just like you with the financial stuff. And it's like, uh, and every part of me was saying, do not be impulsive, do not be
Right.
impulsive. And yet it doesn't matter that I'm my survival because of my journey still kicks in. Like I still went
Yeah,
out and applied for jobs. I mean, yes, they were part-time and also gave me the taste of going back through an interview, but just even going through having to fill out the paperwork online for what
right,
they want when I have to do the application, it's like, like
right,
stuff. What are you still doing this for? You got the resume. Why are you making me refill all this stupid stuff out? So it was
right.
like, I still did it.
And
I'm still doing
yeah,
it, but
I realized why life works for me now after I quit is because I could have pursued anything and I might still be struggling,
mhm,
but I'm literally pursuing a passion, my deepest passion,
mhm,
and I've made it my life's work. Like I made it what I like because I'm pursuing my passion, then things work out.
mhm.
Things that because you're living in alignment with what you're here to do, the rest of it is like those worries kind of melt away and like things take care of themselves. It's really weird how it works. But most people aren't in a position, for one, most people don't even know what their passion is. They
Right.
don't know what they're here to do. They don't know what makes them tick. And you have to find what that is. And once you really find what it is, not lying to yourself, and once you find something that you feel like you can be doing to help the world or to help yourself, just pursuing, following your heart. Like we did the podcast as a fun project. Like it was just, I had zero expectations. And in fact, I thought it was going to be a little temporary thing that nobody was going to watch. I, I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. And I just went into it as purely, we were just having fun, interviewing people, talking about stuff we
Mhm.
were
So
interested in.
fun, isn't it? I love it.
Yeah. So we were just having fun with it. And it just kept working out.
Yeah.
We had no plans to make money. We had no plans to do anything. We were just in the moment and somehow it just kept working out. Yeah, there's work that goes into it, but
For
it was
sure.
like the universe took the wheel and we were just along for the ride and it kept growing and expanding and we started hosting conferences, we wrote books, we did documentaries, all these things and we're growing on social media and all this stuff and we've had all the censorship and the pushback, but we were just following our hearts the entire time. And because we were doing it for the right reason, we didn't start a podcast because we wanted to make money. We didn't start a podcast because we that's what we wanted to do for the rest of our lives. We just did it because that was what was fun at the time. And it was a way, thank God for us, that we were able to follow our hearts, pursue our passion and serve the world. And a byproduct of that 4 years later was that, oh, like I we can actually make money doing this.
Mhm.
It took 4 years for us to make a penny, because we weren't trying to make money. We were, people are like, why aren't you monetizing? Why aren't you doing this? I'm like, well, we just want people to hear this stuff. We don't care. But then it worked out for us in the end. Things happened and it turned into this beautiful thing that I feel like we're truly being supported by unseen forces. And I don't take that for granted a day in my life. I'm very grateful for the situation that I've found myself in. Some people could say like, "Oh, you worked your ass off for that," but I don't feel like that was the case. I feel like I just followed my heart, and that's what happened.
Which is so perfect. Everything. This has been such a good interview. Thank you. It's so perfect for the very first question about being an elder. Like to me, this is an example of an elder that's really embodying their wisdom. And the wisdom isn't necessarily all in there, ready. It's one of those things that comes as you're speaking incrementally through going through all the different new edges that life throws your way, and you still keep finding a way, mostly, like you're saying, from listening to your guidance. And I love that you started these podcasts with having fun. I did some a couple years ago, 23 recovering through grief podcast, and I didn't get anywhere with it. I mean, it's so cute because I have an advertising and journalism degree, but
Right,
so hopefully this time, I mean, I really would like to generate some income, especially with the curriculums, because I think they're of value.
right. Well,
So,
and really quickly, like what I see happen too is some people will pursue like a podcast or pursue a path that they think is what they're supposed to be doing. And the reason it doesn't work is because to me that means you got to go back to the drawing board. Like maybe like
I looked
a
into all the
podcast, not
leading
everyone is meant to
scientific
be a podcaster, you
terzepatide,
know?
semaglutide, whatever.
Oh, I hear something.
Stop everything you're doing right now. Put your
That's
phone, do
Joyce.
not disturb
Joyce, you're on.
door. Close it.
Oh my gosh, Joyce. She's listening to Elon while she's on.
Uh,
Joyce, are
so
you listening
just
to Elon
just
while you're getting on?
Now,
And
how
you
am I
can
on? You mean I?
you're on,
Oh,
sweetie.
you
but
can
it.
mute
I
her.
I
You
I
can
tuned in at 1 at 12:11. You're 3:11 your time,
So you've been on?
and I've been sitting here all the time, and I thought, well, you don't see me, you don't hear me, you don't hear
No, because you
anything.
don't have your video on. You have to turn on your video. You're so funny. Well,
I
you've kind
I'm
of shown
so
up.
I have so I thought, well, okay. I thought you were going to end right about now.
No, we're not ending yet. I still got a
Oh,
few more
oh,
questions.
good. Okay, you're going overboard.
So we're going to keep going, just a few more. So, I mean, you've answered so many of these beautifully, and I feel like it's fit so perfectly, Tyler, into the egregore. It's exactly like it's been very organic. Yes, I've got the questions, but just where you've gone with it and what you're showing to me is an example of how people can start to take more control over their inner process and not give it away through the congregated mindsets that are propagated out there in so many different ways. So, what do you want younger generations to understand about keeping their mind free?
don't. This is the best advice I've ever gotten, and I tell everybody, don't take life too seriously. Like it's a serious place, and we're in this war, spiritual war, and there's all the politics and the jobs and the finances and the taxes and things that require you to be serious. But don't let it control you. Like just don't forget to have fun. Like don't forget to experience the joy in life or find joy in life, and just don't take things too seriously. That to me has helped tremendously because I used to get worked up about things that were so silly. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, why? Like, and then people are like, it's not that serious. It's only as serious as you're making it in your mind. Like, this isn't even an issue. Like, it's not the only reason that it's a problem is because you're telling yourself it's a problem? So I just had to learn how to, like, okay, like, this is just life. Like, it's a game. Like, it's not that serious. And you just flow with it. And then don't forget to have fun because that's another thing I did in the early days of my spiritual awakening. I started learning about all the modalities and yoga and qigong and meditation and all these techniques and you can't eat meat and you have to do this and blah blah blah. It turned into this whole new religion for me. I didn't realize it,
Mhm.
but I felt like I was like living within these parameters of what made me like this spiritual person, right? But then I wasn't having fun anymore, and it dawned on me one day. I was like, man, I haven't laughed in months. Like I don't think I actually laughed or had fun because I quit going
Oh.
out drinking with my friends and I'm just sitting in my house being a recluse on the weekends, researching and reading and doing all this meditation and stuff. And a lot of it was beautiful too, but I got so far out of balance.
Mhm.
I was taking it so seriously that I stopped having fun. I didn't realize I stopped having fun until it dawned on me one day. And it was like this Friday night rolled around, and I'm just like, man, like I'm hitting a dead end here. Like this is what am I going to do this weekend? Like my only friends at the time, they were all going to the bars. Like I had to figure out a way to do something.
Mhm.
And so I was like, screw it. I went to the store. I hadn't had a drink in months. I went to the store and I bought a six pack of beer. And I went in my backyard and I built a fire and I just sat there and I drank that beer by the fire and I just quit being so serious about like I was like, oh, you can't have a drink. That's not spiritual. You can't do it. And I just said, screw it. I'm having a drink. And then I sat there and I had drank a six pack and it was the best night ever just by the fire. And
Oh.
then my friend who I don't hang out with anymore because of he was a big partier, he invited me to this pool party the next day. And I said, you know what? I'm going. I'm like, I'm so tired of saying no and just being stuck here in my house and being spiritual, right? I went to the pool party and I just let my inner child come out. They were just playing, we were drinking again, and then we played this stupid game they're called Butt in the Hole. There was this inner tube in the pool, and you had to jump and try and land your butt in the inner tube. And next thing I know, I'm running and we're trying to jump into this thing and playing this game, and we're laughing. I'm having more fun than I'm enjoying life more than I had in 6 months being trying to be a spiritual person, you know? And I'm just like something's out of whack here. Like I have to find a balance. Like you can't just go be only that and not this. So I had to find a joy in life. I had to remember to have fun, stop taking it so seriously. And it really pulled me out of this place where I was really, you know, on paper doing all the right things, but I wasn't happy again, you
Mhm.
know. So I had to, and not saying that everyone should go out and drink and party again, but that's I had to break the cycle.
Mhm.
And I didn't fall back into it, but it broke me free from whatever I was stuck in and then allowed me to move on from there, you know.
Well, I
So,
found so much of mine. I'm so good at a hermit. That's part of my human design. But it was interesting how much my world opened up from my husband dying because we did like an end of life stuff, and people, his whole family has been coming in, and there's just been and hospices in and out, and everybody that's been in and out of this place that I used to keep kind of coveted. And it's been so interesting because I really, I grew up in a big family, so I really, really, really miss people. I mean, that's why I think I love going out there in the work world and not necessarily full time, but just because it's so good to get to converse with people and,
right.
like you said, be optimistic because I definitely need that energy. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
this has been a great interview.
there's I do think that structure is important in life, like in a sense. Like
Discipline.
you have to have direction or structure or discipline or something. Because I've created this lifestyle where I create my own hours and all this
Mhm.
stuff. And sometimes I dare I say that I miss having a structure of
Mhm.
the job, you know?
For sure.
Um, but but I would never want to go back to that. So you got
Right.
to create it for yourself. You got to find some form of structure. That's important. And then like I did miss going and like interacting with people every
Mhm.
day and doing stuff. So there's aspects of you have to create new ways to do that, you know?
Mhm.
So but everyone will figure that out on their own. That's to each their own as far as
Well,
what
we're
they
all just
like.
being regenerated. There's such a huge reset going on with everybody, and the world is going through such a metamorphosis. And truthfully, and I hope you feel this way too. I'm real as hard as it's been to be what I call an explorer and do this terrain way before anybody else. It's amazing how grateful I am to have this stronghold foundation now at this time for hopefully the way that we will be able to be there for others. And just look at what you built. You've got this good 4 years in now, or however long, 19.
2019 we started, so it's
That's
almost
so
7 years. Yeah,
7 years. That's
yeah,
awesome. So when you think about something like that, so as you can contemplate legacy, what beliefs feel nourishing and what beliefs feel like noise? It's fun to look at the word legacy.
yeah, yeah. I don't consider. I guess it could be a legacy, right? But I don't. I've never considered that as far as what we're doing. Um, what feels like noise is almost all of it. Like most of it, you realize at the end of the day is all distraction. Like the information's great. We need to understand our history. We need to understand who we are.
Mhm.
We need to understand that we've been lied to, understand the corruption. All that has to be understood, but you don't have to stay there.
Right.
And so the noise is when you stay there and you just constantly keep letting yourself get distracted by the new headlines every day. We don't at this point in the age of AI and all this other stuff, like to even pretend like you know what's true or not when you're scrolling through the internet, right? You know, it's like it's so hard to know. It's all noise now. It's all noise.
Good point.
So I like to read books, older books, people that have been talking about this stuff for a while. Um, that's where I find that's where I find the most pure truth, I think. The pureness is in a lot of the books that I read because I feel like when you read these older books, they came at a time before the chaos, and it's always been chaotic. But in my mind, like I find peace in between the covers of a book, and I feel like that's one way to escape the noise, you
Mhm.
know, and still learn and educate yourself, and now you're reading something you want to read instead of exploring something that you didn't know about 10 minutes ago until you just scrolled past it on Facebook, and then that leads you somewhere else, and it's just like spiders, you know, it creates this whole web,
Like
and then
spider
next,
veins, actually.
yeah, right. Anyway, I don't know if I'm answering your question properly, but um, almost all of it like is no is noise, even if it's true. Like how much of that are you gonna take in before it's not healthy anymore, you
Mm.
know?
Well, I just have a few more. You've been awesome. What is your relationship with mystery now compared to earlier in life?
With mystery,
Yeah,
mystery drives me every day.
that's awesome.
The mystery in life is what keeps me doing this because
Yeah.
I'm constantly looking for some little nugget, you know, and what that leads me to somewhere new, and I enjoy that mystery. And that's what was so exciting about everyone's great awakening in the early days, is because you were solving these mysteries of life, right? You were like, oh my gosh, like how did I never know this? And it was like you're on a scavenger hunt or something. And to me, I still that still drives me every day. I love exploring new areas, you know, always hoping to go on a hike and discover Bigfoot or what, you know, whatever. I just always it's always on the table. Anything can happen. Something amazing can happen that it could be mysterious, and uh, that's where I find a lot of joy.
I remember way back when writing way back when, early on, probably after going to Sedona and with harmonic convergence. And one of the things I wrote was being an explorer because I've always considered myself an explorer because you're just tapping into new terrain with everything that we're doing. So what do you want to be remembered for energetically, not just materially? Which I think you're going to be remembered for this interview. Quite frankly, this has been such a good interview.
I've never thought about what I want to be remembered for. I just want,
Energetically.
yeah, I just, well, for one, more for not for other people, but for myself. Like, you know, we go through life and we learn things about ourselves along the way. And a lot of times we learn those things from other people that mirror things back to us.
Mhm. Yes.
And sometimes that we find out that we're not the person that we thought we were in a lot of ways.
Mm.
And, you know, we've been lying to ourselves in certain areas. So it's been more about me trying to um, understand who I am. And I want to leave myself with
Cool.
the thought of understanding that I'm truly a good person and I
Mhm.
wasn't, you know, sometimes we do things that we don't even realize are hurting other people and stuff
Right.
like that. So I guess like for me, it's more important about how I see myself. And then if I see myself in integrity doing what I think is the right thing every day, then obviously that'll just be how I'm remembered, I guess, because that energy is contagious. But to me, like that's important to me. Sometimes like things happen. I'm like, somebody will say something, you know, you always say this or you do this every time this happens. I'm like, do I? And I'm like, wow, I really did. I'm like, wonder how many times I've done that around somebody else where that might have hurt their feelings or whatever. And then like you know, I grew up thinking that was normal, but it's not really normal. It's a toxic trait that I've always had. And
Mhm.
you gotta course correct all the time and start like
Mhm.
figuring out who you are. But then so then at the end of the day, I just want to be like I want to look back on my day and realize like I was a good person today. I didn't do something that was passive aggressive or hurt somebody's feelings or whatever. And I think if we can like create that new baseline and just carry that into our work, then I think that's how I'll be remembered. I hope anyway.
That's a nice legacy answer. Let's see. Have you ever looked at the concept of devotional wealth in your living experience?
No, I have not. Yeah, I don't know
It's
if you
like really
explain to me.
understanding first off what devotion means to you, like if how that word fits into your reality.
Right. And then what was it? Wealth, devotional
Uh-huh,
wealth, you
devotional
said?
wealth. Because like it's really even understanding like wealth is so tied into the term money. But I think it's nice to reframe the word wealth, and especially when we connect it to the word devotion, because I think I can only speak for myself with love and purpose and integrity and all those different things. To me, that's when I see devotional wealth, what comes up for me.
Right. I would say I kind of answered that earlier in a sense about I used abundance instead,
Mhm.
but being devoted to what I'm doing and following my heart and like you're generating this wealth, but it's not in this form of money. It's like it is in a sense that helps, but Um, I don't know if I have an answer for you properly right now, but that's what off the top of my head. It's just pursuing my passion and being devoted to it and creating energy that it's like what do they call it? I can't think of it. A perpetual motion device, like it's generating its own energy. Like that's, and that's what's happening whenever you're devoted to something like that.
Yay. So this is the last question. You've been such a trooper here. If your life were a torch, what flame are you passing forward?
Integrity, I guess.
Perfect. Great.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it.
And that didn't come. That came with a price. It's like I said earlier. Sometimes we think we're in integrity, we're not. We got to check ourselves.
Mhm.
And but that that's if I'm gonna pass a torch on, that's what it would be. Yeah.
Good, great. So if you want to share your contact information and how people can get a hold of everything that you have to offer, including your documentaries and books and everything.
Yeah, so the best way is our website, journeytotruth.online, has everything we do there. But you can find us on all the other platforms like YouTube and Rumble and Facebook and X and Instagram and all that stuff, Telegram. We're all over the place, but it's all under one umbrella under our website. And you can even find the books that we've written, links to our documentaries, our webinars, our conference coming up in Hawaii, if anybody would like to join
Cool.
us out there. This everything we do is all on the website there. So yeah, and
Okay.
email, you can email us through the website or journeytotruthpodcast@gmail.com, and you'll get a hold of either myself or Aaron, and that's the best way to get a hold of us.
Beautiful. So thank you for walking with us today. Elder wisdom is not something we age into automatically, as you can hear from even this beautiful interview. It is something we choose to embody. If today's conversation stirred something in you, I invite you to explore whispersfromthehearth.com, podcast, and amazing curriculums. Until next time, walk gently, speak truth, and guard your inner flame. Thank you. I feel like this was a divine intuition that came through because you were the one that I wanted to do this interview with. So I appreciate your time. It was a long one and you stuck in there with me, and everything you shared to me is going to be really supportive for many, many people out there. And I appreciate your time and effort.
Yeah, and thank you so much. By the way, I actually really appreciated this interview because you were asking meaningful questions. A lot of people just want me to tell stories or talk about what I research and stuff, but you're asking like the real stuff, which I don't get asked hardly ever. So to me, it was fascinating and it causes me to reflect as well. I'm like, well, I never thought about that. So I appreciate it. I really enjoy this. It's refreshing doing an interview that's unique like this. So thank you.
You're welcome. So I look forward to maybe connecting with you at some point. Maybe I can make it. I joined your disclosure, the one that you have in May, that's coming up in May. And where's that located? Don't
Which,
you have something coming up again? Another
well,
besides your Hawaii one? I was thinking you did.
no, we have a
You're
um Chaco Canyon thing in September, but
okay.
I'll be at the Rise of the Guardians conference in May.
Okay, maybe that's the one that I saw.
Yeah. And then I'll be in well Lily Nova, my girlfriend, she has a retreat. There's a lot going on in May here. So yeah. Anyway, we don't have anything particularly scheduled for May, so
Okay. Well, thank you so, so much. This was precious. Nice meeting you,
yeah.
Tyler.
Yeah, you too. See you later. Thank
All
you.
righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.